Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to IE Sports Radio, the show that never sleeps. Your direct feed for all that is sports. We have a big show going on today and a busy week in New York and New Jersey. We're going to talk some Mets, Yankees baseball, Mets reeling, Yankees injury issues, and we also talking Jets and Giants. Jets trade rumors, or I'm sorry, pickup rumors, and also have some Giants takes for you. And we also review the Liberties back-to-back games against the Chicago Sky. So tune in. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the show that never sleeps right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Now, we have a busy show today and a lot to get into. Um, Busy week for the Mets and the Yankees. We'll get into the Yankees first. Yankees, they had a West Coast trip and a pretty successful one. Um, they won two out of three from the Padres, two out of three from the Mariners, and also two out of three from the Dodgers. Um, so they look good in that West Coast trip. It was it cost them a little bit though, especially in that Dodgers series, which we'll get into with the Aaron Judge injury. But for the most part, the Yankees look good. You liked how they looked against the Padres after they had a trend. They lost the first game to the Padres, first game to the Mariners, and the last game to the Dodgers. But um, for the Padres series, they really woke up after that first game where Tatis and Soto really carved them up, and they took that first game. Um, but after that, our pitching was solid. Um, I think that was when Severino came in and had a good game, but oh no, I'm sorry. That was Clark Schmidt. Clark Schmidt's been pitching pretty good recently. He pitched yesterday in the loss against the Chicago White Sox. He gave up only 3 runs in 6 innings, so that's a solid quality outing. I like the way he's been looking recently after that very, very rough start to the season. I know he's been taken under Garrett Cole's wing, so hopefully that Garrett Cole magic starts rubbing off on him for the long term, and he stays consistently good. Um, but yeah, so they took two out of three from the Padres, took two out of three from the Mariners, and then also, like I said, took two out of three against the Dodgers. And in that Dodger series, like I said, Judge got injured. Um, it was a magnificent catch that he got injured on. I mean, he made a jumping catch into the fence, stole a home run, if not multiple. If it wasn't a home run, then he definitely stole a multi-base hit. Um, but the big thing on that play was the injury. Um, the fence, when he ran into it and caught the ball, the fence just busted open, and he hit his toe, his big toe, on a slab, a concrete slab, for whatever reason is there. Um, I mean, come on, it's 2023 and you still got like cages and fences in the outfield with concrete slabs. Like, uh, I mean, it's just a crappy way to get injured. Um, and I was watching it, like I said, he hit his big toe, so he injured his big toe. I was watching a video where a doctor was discussing his injury and the severity of it. Um, it's it seems like it's swelling around the knuckle part of his big toe, and he tore like a or hurt whatever a ligament in that muscle that surrounds the big toe. Um, and they said it's more so of the swelling that when it swells up, they just have to get it to swell back down. Obviously, he said he said it could be a 3 to 4 week injury. You know, for normal people, it's like six weeks to 8 weeks, but for professional players who get the best medicine, said about 3 to 4 weeks. So he was put on the 10-day IL. It'd probably be a little bit more than that. But you just hope that he comes back and doesn't have any lingering issues. The doctor in the video that was discussing the injury said he could potentially, if it really is bothering him, even after he comes back throughout the season and he just plays through it, that he could potentially have off-season surgery on it, if he wants to go that route, and just to make sure it's permanently fixed and there's no lingering issues. I was listening to Tiki and Tierney on WFAN, if anybody listens to them, and Tiki was describing this injury that he received like 22, 23 years ago against who was it? I forget the team, but he he was outrunning the defense, about to score a touchdown, and then Deion Sanders, so it's probably the Cowboys. Deion Sanders catches him from behind and pulls him, and as he was pulling him down, Tiki was at the same time stepping on his right toe, or yeah, stepping on his right big toe, and he twisted it. And since then, he said he just played through it because football is different than baseball. You don't go on 10-day IL in football. You just play through it. So he played through it, and he said to this day, 23 years later, he still feels pain in that toe. So it's very important for the Yankees to manage that injury, especially since it can be a potentially lingering issue for the rest of his career. So, it's Aaron Judge. I mean, with anybody, you want to take care of them, but especially when you're paying a man the amount of money that we're paying Judge, you want to make sure he's fully healthy and ready to go. So I have no qualms about the Yankees taking every precaution with Aaron Judge, and I hope they 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 don't rush him back for whatever reason. I know the Yankees offense struggles without Aaron Judge, and we'll also get into that, but you don't want to rush Judge in and potentially ruin his career over a stupid toe injury. You know what I mean? So they said they gave him an injection, and swelling seems to be going down. So we'll see what happens there. But it's never good when Judge goes down. I mean, obviously he's the engine to this team, the leader, El Capitan. So we'll see what happens there. Let me get to the chats. What up, Taryn? Thank you, appreciate you. New York, what up, Larry B? Terrence says the Dodgers getting humbled by the Yankees was not fun. That was them out of first place. That has them out of first place in the NOS. Well, I apologize about that, but we got to do what we got to do. Normally, we probably wouldn't even face the Dodgers this year, but with those new rules where the interleague play is more common this year, we'll probably see them every year, I'm guessing, from now on. But yeah, that was a fun series. It's always fun when you get two classic teams like that. I'm pretty sure the Dodgers and Yankees are the most well-known franchises in history for baseball. So that was cool to see. It's always cool to see them go against each other. Um, but yeah, they took care of the Dodgers. They won two out of three. It was a successful, you know, West Coast trip, but like I said, very costly. Um, Costless judge. So we'll see what happens from here on out, but it's going to be tough as this Yankees offense. I mean, as any offense really that loses their best player, but really more so with the Yankees. It's going to be tough to see where they get those consistent offense from. Recently, it's been from Donaldson. I mean, since he's came back from injury, he's been on a tear. I think he has like four home runs, homered again yesterday. Been playing great defense. I mean, making highlight plays like he's young again. I don't know. Maybe we should give him a couple days off more often if he's going to keep playing like this. But yeah. So hopefully Stanton gets a rhythm. I mean, he just came back from injury as well, so hopefully he gets in a rhythm. It'll be very important to get him in a rhythm if Judge misses, more than those 10 days, which I'm sure he will. So we have a stretch where we face not so highly competitive teams this year. So it's an easier stretch without Judge in terms of the teams that we face. So hopefully we can stay about 500. When he was away, I know when he got hurt earlier in the season for those 10 games, we were like 4-6 in those games that he was out. So, hopefully we can do better than 4-6. But like I'm hoping 500, maybe a little bit over 500. But that's wishful thinking. But a bright side is the Yankees pitching has been looking a little better. I mean, Nestor went down now, so that of course once we get people coming back, more people got to go down. Donaldson and Stanton come back, and then Judge and Nestor go down. That's the story of the Yankees all the time. I don't know what it is, but that seems to be a repetitive history for the current Yankees organization. But the pitching has been looking better. We got the Domingo coming back from that suspension that he got from getting caught with that sticky stuff on his hands and getting ejected for those 10 games. I mean, getting ejected and then suspended for those 10 games for that situation. He played really good in his last outing. I think he only allowed one run, and like I said earlier, Clark Schmidt, he's been coming around. You don't want to see Domingo and Clark Schmidt in the playoffs, but we need them right now for our what our current pitching situation is. I mean, you got Garrett; he's the one constant, but besides Garrett, I mean, everyone goes down. We're bringing up new guys, like we got Randy Vasquez pitching our next game, whenever that is, since the Yankee game got postponed due to the air pollution from the Canada fires, which we'll also talk about. But yeah, you want to see you want to see you want to see the pitchers that pitch for us during the regular season do good, and you want to see them healthy. But that's just not the reality for the Yankees. So we Aaron Boone is constantly piecing together this pitching rotation, constantly, and it's always changing. Who knows when we're gonna see Rodon? So he's just a theory at this point. So really, all we got right now is Garrett Cole, Domingo, um, Clark Schmidt. We got Severino. I mean, but he got destroyed in that game against the Dodgers in that first in wait, I think it was Dodgers. But whatever game oh no, that was the Padres. He was just horrible. I mean, he in the first inning he gave up like 5 runs, just a total collapse in his last outing. So his first outing, he looked great. Last outing, the complete opposite. So you don't know what you're going to get out of Severino for the rest of the year, especially when it comes to playoff time. I mean, you hope you see playoff Sevy. He seems to come alive in the playoffs, but you just never know. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, you don't want to see Domingo and Clark in the starting pitching rotation. I mean, maybe not even Nestor. I mean, who knows when he's going to come back from that shoulder injury? He's going to be out for a while, so it's what it's looking like at least. Um, so you never want to see your pitchers get injured and your pitchers go down, but it's nice to see pitchers like Clark Schmidt and Domingo, getting it together, and hopefully Randy Vasquez. He had an okay outing his first time out. Also against the Padres, he was doing great until about the fourth inning when they started to hit him out the park. I mean, Soto started it, and then you had to get him out of there quick. But before that, he was looking good. So we'll see what happens in his next outing. But I mean, you want to see these Yankees pitching start to get healthy again, especially the bullpen as well. You got Tommy Kahnle who just came back. Got a couple injuries there, so we just want to see the pitching get healthy. And like I said in the very first show, we want to see these players come come back and start to get in the rhythm towards the end of the season when it comes near October. You don't want them to come back like right before the playoffs, like Sevy did last year, because just don't want that. You want them to get in a groove like August, going into the beginning of September. Hope to get a couple outings. I mean, obviously before that, but you just want to see this team healthy, like in August and September, going into the playoffs. You just want to see them healthy. It's like it's what's been the Achilles heel for this Yankees team in the last couple years. So it's a bummer to see Aaron Judge go down, Nesta go down again. But you what are you gonna do? I mean, you just want to see them stay afloat while Judge is gone. Like I said, hopefully Stanton and Donaldson could get it going off the IL. Um, you want to see DJ start getting it going. I mean, DJ's been really cold. You want to see Volpe start getting it going. He hit a homer the other day, but he's just too inconsistent. I mean, it's expected because he's the rookie, and we kind of expected this. And I know people are freaking out about Volpe, but he'll be fine. He's just a rookie, and literally in every level of baseball that he's been in, the double A's, triple A's, he's always had a slow start. So we'll see what happens with Volpe, but um, now we think, when is it time to trade Glaber? Because that's a discussion we're going to have to start talking about soon, if not now. I mean, I want to talk about it now, so we're going to talk about it. Glaber, I think Glaber needs to be a piece to bring in another starting pitcher. I I can't see us going into the playoffs with Garrett Cole, Rondon, who the hell knows how he's going to look like at that point in time. Severino, like I said, he's been very sporadic, and Nestor as the fourth pitcher. I mean, you don't want to see that. Yeah, it's not. You want to realistically, you want to see Garrett Cole, Rodon, and behind Rodon, you want to see another starting pitcher that we can hopefully acquire, and then you want to see Sevy as that fourth pitcher, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know what pitchers are going to be available when the trade time comes, but we need another starting pitcher, whoever it is. We just can't go into the playoffs and expect to actually go on a run and win the World Series with Garrett Cole and Rondon, who hasn't seen the field yet up to this point after 60 games. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Brian Cashman does, because this is getting to a point where the Yankees are going on this pretty mundane, typical situation where they get to the playoffs, they get to the second round, and they get bounced by the Astros, which is usually all the time. So, in order to get past that hump of the Astros, or that second round, the ALCS, you want to see the pitching pull them through, because historically speaking, recently, I mean, the hitting hasn't been there in the playoffs, and you want to see that change, obviously. But if you look at the teams that win the World Series, they have horses. In terms of in that starting rotation. I mean, the Astros, they had Verlander, they had a myriad of starting pitchers that destroyed us last year. The Dodgers, they have Kershaw and all their pitchers who won before that. I mean, you could just go down the list. It always comes down, for the most part, to those starting pitchers. And for the Yankees, I can't see Garrett Cole and Rondon and whoever they have at that third spot leading us to a championship. I just can't see it. And I think that's where Cashman is gonna have to come in and make a move. Like I said, maybe use Glaber as trade bait. I mean that's the only feasible trade I can say. I don't want to trade Oswald Peraza from our from the minors or Oswaldo Cabrera. I don't want to see those young guys go. So Cashman's gonna have to get creative, and we'll see what he does there. We'll get back to the chats here. Taryn says, "Always fun to see the Yankees and Dodgers, in my opinion." Yeah, always fun. I mean, we should see that. We're gonna see them more often, but yeah, since that rule, we'll definitely see Yankees and Dodgers games more often. It'll be, it's kind of be cool to go to Yankees and Dodgers game one day. Larry B says Domingo was awesome on Sunday. Yeah, Domingo's been or was really good on Sunday. So hopefully he can keep that up. I mean, he's been pretty good all year, but with he had the sticky stuff, so you don't really know how much that went into. But he seems to be pitching better without the pitchy stuff. I mean, the sticky stuff. So yeah, you want to see Domingo keep, if he can just keep pitching like this for the rest of the year. That would be awesome. I mean, it would be huge for us, especially with all these injuries and waiting for Rondon to come back. Yeah, Domingo, that was awesome on Sunday. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our first break here. When we come back, we're gonna talk some Mets. They're currently playing right now, so we'll get into some live updates and discuss some topics about the Mets. Stay tuned right here on the show that never sleeps on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Damn! Green team! Set, hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it. Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
The Spanish Top Flight is here on Wellington Sports Radio. From past champions like Barcelona and Atletico Madrid to current champions Real Madrid and every team in between trying to fight for Champions League glory and trying to fight against relegation. It's La Liga right here on Wellington Sports Radio.
All right, we are back to the show that never sleeps right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Now we're back and we're talking Mets. So the Mets are currently winning 2-0, entering the third. And guess who showed up for the Mets again? The young guy Alvarez. I mean, he's been great, absolutely great. He hit a homer, got an RBI, and then Beatty got the other RBI. So it's 2-0 right now. Scherzer's pitching, doing well, has 4 strikeouts, only allowing 1 hit so far. So that's a good start. Tough loss for the Mets yesterday. They had a game against the Braves. They're currently facing the Braves right now. Sorry, and they were up 4-1, and then I think that was in the third where Lindor hit the homer, the 2-run homer, and then um, also in that same inning, Alonso hit another 2-run homer, and then after that, you see Alonso go in the dugout and starts chirping at the Braves. He says, throw it again, talking smack in the third inning. Now, he's supposed to be their leader, or I would assume so, because I guess maybe Lindor could be the leader, but I would expect it to be Alonso. He's the longtime Met. But that doesn't seem like a very leaderish, if I can use that word, thing to do. So this is the big difference, between the Yankees and the Mets for me. The Yankees, they have an actual leader. The Mets, I believe, they're still searching for that leader. I mean, Alonso, if you're supposed to be that leader, that's not something you do. You don't talk trash to a team who is much better than you in the third inning in a 3-score game. Not like you're blowing them out. It's 3 scores. It's 3 points. You're only or 3 runs. You're only up 4-1. What are you doing? I don't like that. If can you ever imagine? I know everybody's different, but can you ever imagine Judge or Otani or Trout or Kershaw or Mookie Betts or anybody or any of the big leaders in the sport doing that? No, you don't, because leaders don't do that. I mean, Judge would literally tell whoever was doing that in the dugout to cut it off, knock it out. We'll trade you tomorrow if you keep that shit up. Oh, I'm sorry, crap up. I don't know if I curse or not, but so like it, it, it just boggles my mind that Alonso, the longest tenured Met, he's 22 home runs, supposed to be their leader, is barking off in the third inning against the best pitcher in baseball right now. I mean, Elder, he has a sub 2 ERA, 1.94. Might have changed after yesterday, but I mean, come on now. That's ridiculous. One of the best teams in baseball. It's not like it's not like the Mets have been on a tear. They're currently on a 4-game losing streak. They're 30-31 right now. They swept the Phils. The pitching looked fantastic in that series. Things were looking up for the Mets, and then boom, just like the Mets, been up and down all year. They get swept by the Jays right after that. I mean, and the offense looked anemic, it looked horrible. Um, so then right after that, you decide to to mouth off in the third end. Come on, I mean that's ridiculous. I mean, I don't think it was why they lost the game, but even though you don't like to see that from one of your quote unquote leaders. So Mets have an issue. Mets have an issue. They have a lot of issues, and but I believe that's the biggest one. I mean, there's no direction. I think in that team, there's no leadership. There's no. Yeah, just I'm seeing Larry says. Sorry, just skipping over all these chats. Larry B says, "I agree. The Mets are in a weird place." Yeah, I mean they are in a weird place. I mean they have the highest payroll in baseball, but no clear direction, no leader. See, this is why sports is more than just collecting the greatest players. Sports is you have to collect the greatest players to that can form the greatest team. Like you can get the greatest players, but if they don't mesh together, if they can't form that that relationship to that translates on the field and translates in the numbers, then it's pointless. I mean, there's plenty of examples. You can go back in football to that Eagles team way back when I think it was like 2011 around that time when they were the super team and they said they were the super team and then they just shit the bed. You know what I mean? And then the Miami Heat team, it took them a while to gel with LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. I mean, it ended up working out, but in the first year they lost the finals, so because they lost to a better team in the Dallas Mavericks. So you know what I mean? With the Mets, and I mean this is partly because of Steve Cohen. I mean, not partly, a lot to do with Steve Cohen and Billy Epler, the general manager, and Steve Cohen, the owner. Um, they they have failed this organization in terms of setting them up for success. And the Mets, they need to figure out what they're going to do. And it's approaching, and quite frankly, those questions are already being asked. Should they blow it up? What should they do? Should they be patient? Should they wait it out, see if things get better? But I can't imagine things getting better. They need to do something, and whether that be firing Buck, the manager, or getting rid of Epler, but I don't see that happening. So when it comes to who's going to go first between Epler and Buck, it's probably going to be Buck. If they do decide that one has to go, it's probably going to be Buck Showalter because he has a more direct impact on the team as it is right now because they're playing in season. So, you know, like the Phillies. I use the Phillies a lot in the first episode of this pod to compare them with the Yankees. But with the Phillies of last year, they fired Girardi in the middle of the year, brought up Rod Thompson, and they took off. They got that juju, that energy, that cohesiveness, whatever you want to call it, they got it. And they rode it all the way to the World Series and almost all the way to the championship. Um, and you got to start asking, if you're the Mets, you got to start asking yourself, do we need to make a change? And where does that change need to be made and prioritized? And I believe that if they do ask themselves that question, they'll ultimately come down to firing Buck. A lot of people may say it's not fair, but it is what it is. I mean, once you bring in a new general manager, that you change everything, the whole energy around the team. Now, whether you change it for the good or the better, that's what's yet to be seen. But that's going to have the most impact for this year, I believe, if you get rid of Buck. Now, Epler Epler used to manage the Angels and general manage the Angels. So my theory is that they brought Epler over because, I mean, let's be honest, he didn't do anything with the Angels to warrant his hiring with the Mets. So if the reason why I think that they're keeping Epler around is because Shohei is going to be a free agent. Shohei went to the Angels while Epler was there, and the Mets also got Shohei's buddy, Kodai Senga, who's from Japan. So I really believe they're trying their best to gear up for Shohei. So they're not going to fire Epler this year. That just doesn't make sense if that's really their plan, which I believe, it's part of their plan for sure. Shohei will change any franchise around that he goes to. I mean, it's not working out with the Angels, but bring him over to New York with the pieces that they currently have. That's going to be a fun team to watch. But that's thinking very far into the future. But in terms of who's going to go first, that's why I believe Buck will go first in that situation. But yeah, speaking about Buck as well, there comes that question in terms of what should they do? Should they blow it up? Should they get rid of Buck? Everyone's asking, why isn't Buck playing Vientos, the young third baseman? I mean, he's not playing today. He's playing third base today. Beatty's playing third base. So, you mean people are telling, or Mets fans are arguing to, DFA Vogelback and put in Vientos long term. But the issue with that is you don't really know what Vientos will be. And if you do plan on using Vientos as a trade piece, you got to ask yourself, is it better to let him play? And hopefully you hope that he plays good so that, teams would want to trade for him. Or do you risk playing him and he plays bad and then teams don't want to trade for him? So is it better to leave him as a mystery or better to play him now? Hopefully he does good, produces for your team. But if you plan on using him as a trade piece, then you also risk him playing bad and then him also not being a good trade piece. So it's a dilemma. The Mets got to figure out, and I believe that's why they're not really playing Vientos, because I believe they're planning on making a move. So during the trade deadline, this is a win now team. It definitely is. It's not a win later team. Win maybe later. It's a win now. They got Verlander. Like I said, they got the highest payroll in baseball. So the Mets, they need to figure it out, and they need to figure it out soon, because they are reeling. They're like I said, they're 30 and 31. That is not good. You do not want to be under 500 after 60 games into the season. I mean, obviously it's obvious, but when you have the highest payroll in baseball and you don't even have a better record than the Marlins, that's an issue. That's a big issue. So the Mets are gonna have to figure it out, and they're gonna have to figure it out quick. Let's get back to the chats here. Taryn, he says Mets haven't really looked the same since the Padres beat them in the playoffs last year. Yeah, I mean, it was a tough series for them. Padres, they've looked okay this year, but not the same thing with the Mets. And they had higher expectations, but yeah, the Mets, they lost the Grom after last year. They got Verlander in his place, and they were hoping that they were going to take off this year and, end up being the new kids on the block, but it's not happening. And you got to point the finger somewhere. And ultimately, I think it's going to be pointed at Buck. Fair or not fair. But we're going to take our second break. And when we come back, we're talking some Jets and Giants football. So stay tuned right here on the show that never sleeps on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the '08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies,
And your one-timers,
you wicked wristas.
and be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back to the show that never sleeps, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Now we got another Mets update here before we get into some Jets and Giants football talk. Mets up 4-1 now in the top of the fifth. Tony Pham homered, two-run home run, coming in for Pete Alonso, who left the game because he got hit by a pitch, so not good there for the Mets. But hopefully it's not a big injury. He comes back soon. So let's see. El McHugh. Okay, so the starting pitcher for the Braves just got subbed out, and Max Scherzer killing it. 9 strikeouts in 4 innings pitched so far. So Max Scherzer looking good recently. So hopefully the Mets can pull it out there. And now we're gonna get into some Jets and Giants talk. So the Jets, there's been some rumors surrounding the Jets and Dalvin Cook, who is going to be released from the Vikings if he hasn't already. So Dalvin Cook, if you don't know who he is, running back for the Minnesota Vikings, one of the best running backs in the league over the last couple years. Injury problems, injured almost every year he's been in the league, if not every year. He can be a difference maker for this Jets team if he does want to join the team. The Jets got Breece Hall coming back from that injury, so it would be nice if you can have Dalvin Cook sort of take off some of the load, so Breece doesn't have to come in and take on a heavy load, while I guess not recovering but coming back from that injury. So I think it would be a good pickup. Obviously, I mean, how can Dalvin Cook not be a good pickup, especially on the price tag that he's going to come in? He'll probably get like $4 to $5 million since he's being cut. Running back market is very low right now. If it's not all the time, but Dalvin Cook can change a lot for this Jets offense. I mean, him, Aaron Rodgers, Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, McCole Hardman, Allen Lazard. You got that offensive line, hopefully that can hold up. But I mean, that's a scary offense if they can pull it all together, which I believe they will. Um, but yeah, so we'll see what happens with Dalvin Cook. He's been linked with a couple teams, but I've been seeing for the most part the Jets and the Dolphins seem to be the favorite there. So, that's going to be a battle there, I'm guessing, between the Jets and the Dolphins trying to not let their AFC East competitor, land a big name like Dalvin Cook. So we'll see what happens with Dalvin. We have some news in terms of the battle at left tackle for Mekhi Becton and Dwayne Brown. Mekhi, he's been injured a lot. Last year got injured. Year before that, his first year was injured. Um, he's been, frustrated, because that left tackle position is not really solidified to be his, especially with Salah and his pressers. What he's been saying is that Makai's got to earn it. If he wants it, he's got to earn it. And I'm sure that's not what Makai wants to hear. But I mean, he's a young guy. You do gotta earn it, especially if you've been injured and you don't know. The Jets don't know how exactly you're gonna look like coming off an injury. So, and now you got Aaron Rodgers. You got different expectations this year. So, you know, that's Aaron Rodgers' blind side. You don't you gotta have that position solidified. And Dwayne Brown, he's a veteran. He's been in the league a while. I forget exactly how many years, but he's close to retiring. So you know that he's most likely going to win that position. So sucks for Makai, but you, I mean, if you're Makai, you just have to be patient. Take that right tackle position, play well. Dwayne Brown will probably retire next year, if not the year after that, and you'll be the starter left tackle for the foreseeable future. So, bum Makai, I understand it's frustrating now, but just let it play out and just do your best. That's all you can do. Um, Dwayne Brown seems pretty much going to take that spot. Salah says, he he pretty much said in a presser that Dwayne Brown, is going to be tough to push him out of that position. So Makai's got his work cut out for him, but he just has to earn his stripes. Really, with Salah is what it sounds like. Salah just don't trust him as much as he does Dwayne, and that's understandable. I mean, Dwayne is a solidified vet in the league, and Makai is an unknown, player that has a lot of potential. So we'll see what happens there. But most likely, it's going to be Dwayne Brown starting at left tackle for the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is back. He participated in OTAs, looked great, obviously. And there's been a lot of talk about how, amongst the players and the coaches and the team in general, about how he's changed the way they do football in Jets, in the Jets organization. I mean, just going to read this quote that a player from the Jets said about Aaron Rodgers. They said, players need to pay attention because Rodgers will go around the room quizzing players from the various position groups. He will ask a player his assignment on a particular play, then change it up by testing that same player on how he would adjust if the play gets changed at the line of scrimmage. So, I mean, he's really taking that leadership role, and he's making sure the players are on their P's and Q's. He's making sure that they're on top of things, and that's something that just Zach Wilson would never do at this point in his career. I mean, Judge, he's involved. I mean, not Judge Rogers. He's involved in pretty much everything. He said he's hopping in offensive line meetings. He's getting together with the tight ends. He's making sure everybody's on top of things, which is good. That's what you want to see, and that's what you need from a veteran like Rogers, especially if you want to win a championship. Um, so that's good. That's what you want to see. But the one person, which I said this last week, that can hold the Jets back from success, in my opinion, is Robert Salah, the head coach. And in my opinion, he's already starting to do that. Now he took away the minicamp for the Jets, He said he's, giving him off, I guess, as like a reward. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I know people say it's just mini camps, just like 3 days or whatever. But I mean, with a newly formed offense and, um, Aaron Rodgers, I mean, I know he's a vet and he's going to be ready, but you can't guarantee that everybody else is going to be ready. I mean, you want to at least give these players as much time together to gel and to get their rhythm together and just have everything ready and prepared for that beginning of the season. I mean, your first game is against the Bills. I mean, if you come out and you just lay an egg against the Bills, it's not going to be a good reflection uh, amongst the coach about him giving his players breaks this early in training camp. I mean, it could be something very little, but I think it's just a, a bigger sign of what could potentially go wrong with this team. That Robert Salah could potentially not be the leader that he needs to be for this team. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is going to come in there and lead, but can Salah, who is the ultimate leader of that team, can he take his team and put him over the top? You know, because he's gonna have to. There's gonna be a lot of times during the season where he's gonna need to come up big for the Jets. You know, whether it be late game situations, how he manages injuries, how he motivates the guys during the tough times in the season. He's got a lot. He's got a lot to prove this season, and to me, that's not a good start. Not a good start. But that's it for the Jets. It's big Jets news. Hopefully they can get their rhythm going and get it together for that first game of the season. And it's going to be a fun season for them. So, like I said, these OTAs and these mini camps, they can seem like small things, but small things add up when it comes to winning a championship. So we'll see what happens there. But moving on to the Giants, they had a pretty quiet week. No really big news. The biggest news that came out of OTAs for the Giants was Daniel Bellinger and how ripped he was. I mean, he's looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger out there. So, he's looking good. I mean, we'll see how just because you get ripped and you bigger muscles doesn't mean that you're going to be well in the season. But I mean, for a tight end, you would like to see that he's putting on weight because he's got to block some big boys. So, and that also brings into the question how much 12 personnel the Giants are going to get into. And for those of you who don't know what 12 personnel is, you want to, with 12 personnel, you got one running back, two tight ends on the field, and two wide receivers. So it's one less offensive lineman. And, um, or, yeah. So it's going to be you don't want to see too much 12 personnel because you want to see all the linemen out there, especially with three wide receivers. It's more traditional, but 12 personnel can be very useful if you're doing quick motion stuff. And if you just want to take advantage of your speedy tight end on the linebacker, it's a great personnel to get into. But we'll see what the Giants do. They'll switch it up a lot. But that is the main news out of Giants camp. I wanted to get into a little bit more, but we're running out of time here. So just thank you guys for another good show. Thank you guys for listening along. We didn't get into everything I wanted to talk about today. We missed some Liberty notes, but we'll catch up with it next week. I know the Yankees game got postponed today and the Liberty game also because of the Canadian wildfires and the bad air pollution. So we'll get all into it next week. Thanks for listening along. Sorry I couldn't get into all the topics of the day, but that's why we're here every Wednesday, same time, same place at 8. So make sure you catch us next week. Appreciate everyone again for tuning in. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Larry, Taryn, thank you for contributing to the chat and joining and listening on. And we'll talk again next week. Have Have a good week, everybody. Salute, salute, salute. I'm out.